Welcome to December, that time of the year where tech companies go all out in trying to sell you the latest gadget that will hopefully make your unhappy spouse stick around a bit longer. But what happens when you don't need the newest, but still want something newer than what you already have? Well, you buy used. Yes, used. The dirty word that companies don't want entering your ear holes, as it goes against their mission for ever-increasing profits at the expense of humanity and the planet. Now, just like your wife's boyfriend, the word used is intimidating for a reason. Especially when it comes to making a big purchase like a car, since there are a million parts that could have a million problems. But buying used tech isn't as complicated, especially when it's a used or refurbished laptop, because there are less than a dozen components that make up a laptop, and these previously owned slabs of silicon can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars at the same time you're saving something from the landfill. But it can seem overwhelming if you don't know what you're looking for. Luckily, I do, because I've been refurbishing and selling business class laptops at my computer repair business for 10 years now, and I've already made videos on how to refurbish a laptop as a seller, but I've never made one on how to buy a refurbished laptop. So this video is a comprehensive guide on the process of buying a used laptop, from deciding on what to buy and where to buy it, testing it once you receive it, dealing with any issues should they come up, and what laptops I personally recommend for the average user.
So while I refurbished these two laptops that people bought off of SalemTechSperts.com, I'm going to explain to you what you need to do if you want to buy a refurbished laptop. Now, the first thing that you need to keep in mind is that you need to research. Research. That is the most important part of buying a laptop, because you only buy it once and then you're stuck with it. One of the most important things is how easy is it to repair? After coming home from a long date with your wife's boyfriend and you spill some tequila on it, how easy is it going to be to replace the keyboard? Is the keyboard fused to the top case? Is it going to be expensive? And you can always find out how by looking at YouTube, because somebody's probably uploaded a video on how to do that repair. And that's how you can gauge how difficult it is to repair.
A broken display is just as common, if not more common, than a broken keyboard. So the cost of a replacement display is also something to be aware of before you purchase a laptop. Because any touchscreen display that has glass fused to it is going to cost significantly more than a non-fused display, so this price shock alone is enough to scare even the hardiest of wallets.
The next thing that you want to think about is how easy is it to upgrade? Most laptops now, they come with upgradable RAM, but some business class laptops, like even this ThinkPad T16, there's only one slot for a RAM upgrade, which of course we upgrade it because we take care of our customers here at Salem Tech Experts.
This is especially relevant if you plan on doing any gaming, because on some laptops like this T16, the soldered RAM operates in single channel mode, which means you'll only have Intel UHD graphics. But if you install another stick of RAM, you'll enable dual channel, which unlocks the Intel Xe graphics.
32 gigabytes of RAM. Now, if the customer wants to go higher, they can, and they can replace the storage. So right now it comes with a 1 terabyte, I believe, NVMe SSD. Because if you want your computer to last, and you're somebody that runs out of storage space often, you're gonna want something with upgradable storage. Because the longer your computer will last, the less money you have to spend on buying something new. And that's the idea. So how long do you actually want it to last? Do you need something that's just gonna last you a few years? If so, upgradability might not be as big of a concern, but for me, I like to buy things to use them for a very long time because I'm cheap, and upgradability is one of the biggest things here. The battery is also very important. How easy is it to replace the battery? Is the battery readily available? Is it expensive? It's always better to ask these things before you purchase it instead of being stuck with something that's unrepairable because of one small accident that you had with it. Another research item you need to do: what are the most common problems on that machine you're buying? Just like a car, every single computer suffers from certain issues. You will have a much easier time dealing with those issues if you know what they are before you purchase your machine. For example, on ThinkPads, a common problem is on the screen, there's a little mark in the middle from the red nub that gets pushed into the screen. That's a common issue. It happens on a lot of ThinkPads. These don't have that, of course, because we only sell the best here at SalemTechSperts.com. For example, HP Pavilion laptops, which are consumer grade laptops, HP stands for hinge problems. So the hinge is probably going to break on a lot of those laptops. If you Google the model number and you go on YouTube, you can see videos of the most common issue. It'll say GPU repair or hinge replacement, something like that. Business class laptops do suffer from issues. There are good models, there are bad models. I try to only sell the good models, as do most reputable sellers. But being able to identify that before you even purchase it is something that's crucial in the process. And it's not just common problems, it's also weak points, common weak points. With most laptops nowadays, the USB-C is how they charge, and a lot of those are weak points for the laptop. Sometimes the USB-C port just gets damaged, or if you use a bad charger, it scrapes the pins. There's nothing you can do about it. That USB-C port is soldered to the motherboard. So if it does break, that means you're gonna have to find somebody that can either replace just the USB-C port, which requires micro soldering. A lot of places don't offer that because it's labor intensive and fairly expensive, and some places do offer that. But just be prepared and know what the weak points are and what the strong points are of the laptop that you're trying to buy. Now, what should you expect when you buy a used laptop? Generally, you're gonna get cosmetic scuffing. Maybe there's marks on the keyboard, like some wear on the keyboard, some wear on the touchpad. It's not gonna look perfect. It might, if you're lucky, but it might not look perfect because it's used. Just like a used car might have some dings or scratches and all that stuff. But what it should do is it should function perfectly. It should function as good as it did straight out of the factory. That's the idea of buying a refurbished laptop, if you're buying it from a good seller. Now, how do you decide where to buy the laptop? Who isn't gonna try to screw you? Do I recommend buying a laptop off that sketchy guy in the van with an I love crime hat? Probably not, unless he's selling ThinkPads. Now, it might not be surprising that I recommend you buying a used laptop from your local computer repair shop, if you have one. Because, multiple reasons. Your local computer repair shop has a physical retail location. So if there's any problems with that laptop, you have a face to go to. You have somebody to go to that provides one-on-one service. And you're also supporting a small business in your community where the money will inevitably go back to your community. If you buy it from Bill's computer service, you're gonna have Bill to talk to. So if you have a problem, you go to Bill. You get one-on-one support. And also, since Bill's the only guy there, or maybe he has 1 or 2 employees, they're gonna be doing quality control that's on a different level, a higher level than, say, an assembly line full of 6,000 ThinkPads just running through some employees' hands that, you know, they're overworked and they really don't care. There's more room for error if you get it through one of those bigger companies. That's always a huge benefit, is going through a specialist or a local business that is able to sit down, just like I am with these ones. My tiny raccoon-like fingers are personally refurbishing these laptops, and I went over every single thing on these laptops to make sure that this thing won't come back. Now, say your local computer repair shop doesn't have what you're looking for and you need to go somewhere else, or maybe you don't have a local repair shop because they went out of business because the industry is dying. Then I recommend eBay. eBay can be a gold mine, but it also has traps that can kill your wallet. So you have to think of it as such. eBay has a bunch of different sellers with a bunch of different feedback scores and warranty policies, return policies, with a ton of different refurbishing methods. Generally speaking, you want to go to the eBay seller that has as close to 100% feedback with a lot of sales, and their return policy is within something that you like, maybe 30 to 60 days or something like that, and their warranty. That's a big one. Warranty is huge because as a small computer repair shop, I warranty my stuff for a year, which is kind of crazy, but I only sell things I'm confident won't come back to me. A lot of eBay sellers, they won't warranty it that long, or they'll make it really difficult. They'll try to jerk you around if you do try to have a warranty case fulfilled. But I've bought hundreds of laptops, usually ThinkPads or Latitudes, off of eBay, and I've personally refurbished them and resold them. So I will vouch for eBay. You just have to be careful with it, just like everything else. Think of it as any other marketplace. You just have to be careful with it. You can find amazing deals. Now, everything I say about eBay goes for Amazon as well. Another huge detail that you need to make sure to pay attention to is whether or not the picture you're looking at on the website is the actual item. Because a lot of times the picture isn't. The picture is the best item that they have in that lot. But they need to say that. They need to disclose that in the listing. For example, if I look for a Lenovo ThinkPad T16, this keyboard is amazing. God, I wish I kept this computer. I shouldn't have sold this. I want this for myself. So you'll see the initial listing. Now this guy has 100% positive feedback with 7,000. That's huge. This is a good seller. Let's see what their insurance is like. So I can get a warranty through Allstate for 45 bucks. I don't know how it is dealing with Allstate, and hopefully you never find out, but they have one. 30-day return, seller pays for return shipping, which is great. The seller pays. That means they're confident enough that they're willing to pay for you to return their stuff if you don't like it. Now let's see, does the picture match? Let's see. Seller notes, we do not have a charger for this machine, shows normal oil, can sit with normal use. Okay, so seller notes, that's important too. They'll usually disclose any issues with the computer up here. And let's see, it's still under factory warranty until September 2025. This is a Gen 1 T16. This is an amazing friggin' computer that's less than $400, still under the factory warranty. That's insane. And this is just, That's the first thing I Googled. This is the first thing I looked up on eBay, and immediately I'm greeted with the greatest seller that's ever lived. Now I'm still looking for that says if the picture is of the item, and I can't find it. Let's see. All right, so it does look like this machine has a broken keypad with one of the keys missing, and the keypad is loose. So I don't know if they mean keypad or keyboard, but it says see picture. So this is the picture of the machine. Okay, I see. So the F4 button, somebody tried closing a tab real quick. Maybe they were looking at something they shouldn't have. But generally, this computer looks really nice. And again, the T16, this keyboard can be replaced in 5 minutes. Easy peasy. The keyboard itself might cost like 50 bucks or something like that. Regardless, this is a great deal. And this is a perfect example of a laptop on eBay that would be a fantastic deal. All right, now that the T16 is all set, we're gonna move on to the P15. And this also needs thermal paste. It was overheating a little, so I'm gonna ship it out with new thermal paste. Now, what if you don't have eBay? You don't have a computer repair shop? What if you live somewhere where that doesn't exist? Well, the next thing I would recommend is trying to go through a computer or electronics recycling company, because not a lot of people know this, and I feel like it's a hidden secret among us computer repair shops, but electronics recyclers have really good laptops sometimes. They'll get them, say, if a bank is going out of business or a bank is getting rid of some laptops that are off lease, they'll bid on the lot to get that technology, and they'll either refurbish it or they'll just sell it as is. You can get some insane deals from these electronics recyclers. Just give them a call or go there and ask them. They always like making money. You know, who doesn't like make money? Who doesn't like make money? Shout out to Trident Electronics Recycling. That's who we got these laptops from. They've been taking care of me since 2015. So they are my go-to when it comes to getting used laptops. If I can't get it from them, then I will go to eBay, but they're always my first step. Well, that was exciting. That is not an easy job for thermal paste. Now, probably the most common concern and the most valid concern about buying a used laptop is the battery life. Always assume that you'll need a new battery if you buy a used laptop. That's just the nature of how batteries work, and that's also the biggest obstacle when it comes to the performance impact of buying a used laptop. A lot of places won't give you a new battery when they sell you a refurbished laptop because genuine batteries can cost like $100 and something. For example, this T16 battery, you can actually upgrade the battery. Super rare, only exists really with business class laptops, again, one of the positives of that. But you can upgrade from like a 50 watt battery to an 80 watt battery. The battery itself costs $116 for a genuine one, which is pretty pricey, especially when you can buy the laptop for about $400. So, you know, about a quarter of the cost of the laptop is that battery. Now, if you're buying a laptop that's not a business grade laptop, you probably won't be able to find a genuine battery. And that's very important. That's a huge issue because the one thing guaranteed to go bad on your laptop is the battery. It's a wear item, just like tires on your car and brakes. You're gonna need to replace it eventually. Now, the availability of the battery is a huge thing. You can go on Amazon, you can get a battery for pretty much anything, but what kind of quality battery are you getting? You're not gonna get the same quality as a genuine battery. So that's something you have to remember. Generally speaking, on most computers, it's easy replacing the battery. It's pretty simple replacing it on business class laptop and a consumer grade laptop. It's just obtaining a good battery is the biggest issue. Even if we have right to repair, they're probably gonna price that battery up to make it kind of so that it doesn't make financial sense replacing the battery. That's huge. So you receive your laptop, but what now? What are the first things that you should do when you receive the laptop? Well, let me show you. First thing, obviously, is to inspect the laptop. So get under good lighting, make sure your eyeballs are correct, and just look for physical damage. Does it not match the pictures? Is it something else and it should have been an Xbox controller?
What the frick? I didn't order that. Ordered an Xbox card.
This is a bomb.
Inspect everything visually. Everything looks good on here. It looks like it matches the pictures that don't exist because I actually bought this in person. This thing is minty, minty, minty fresh. Everything looks good. It looks like it was barely used. Now I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna look at the screen. The screen looks perfect. That's exactly how I thought it would look. It looks like there's some dust on there, but that's obviously not a part of the screen. Keyboard looks great. Everything looks perfect. When the screen turns on, there's no weird marks. I'm gonna put a white screen on. Usually I open up Notepad. Everything looks good. There's no weird shadows. There's no marks on the screen. Looks great, and of course you want to test the most important thing is the charger port. Again, these ThinkPads have weird charger ports, so we want to make sure it works. And this one does. Does it feel loose? no looser than normal. It doesn't disconnect if I move it. It charges. It's good. You also want to test the HDMI, test everything. Every single port you see there, you want to test as soon as you get the laptop, because the sooner that you can identify an issue, the sooner you can send it back to the seller and get your money back or work something out. Now, the next thing, hinges. Hinges. Now this one has sturdy hinges. It has 180-degree hinges, which is awesome because it's a ThinkPad, of course. These hinges are great. There's no noises. The question you need to ask when you're opening and closing it, does it make a sound that's similar to your bedroom when your wife's boyfriend visits? Because if it does, you should probably send it back. Squeaky, squeaky, creaky, creaky. And make sure every single key works. Every key on the keyboard needs to work. No key is sticky. Sticky iggy. Oh, wait! Of course, everything works. I know it does because I already use this. I should have kept this laptop. I love this laptop. And of course, test out the speakers to make sure they're not crackling or popping.
Hey, you okay?
Wow, that was a crazy night. So the next thing I want to talk about is heat. Now, when you buy a laptop and it's used, there's something called thermal paste that is on the CPU and a GPU if you have one. Thermal paste degrades over time, and it's what keeps the CPU cool. Basically, the CPU and the heatsink, which is kind of like a radiator, they make contact. They make sweet love. And during this contact, there's air between the CPU and the heatsink, and thermal paste seals that air gap so the heat can conduct off the CPU onto the heatsink, and then those fans can blow and cool down the heatsink, which cools down the CPU. Over time, that paste tends to degrade and the temperatures will rise, so you'll start hearing that fan a lot more, and the computer might start running a lot slower or a little bit slower, and then eventually it'll run really slow and you'll hear that fan constantly go. If you're new to my channel, I recommend checking out the videos that I've done where I've cleaned laptops, because those kind of show you the general usage and the range of how bad a computer can get and how good a computer can get if it's taken care of. If the previous owner used the computer on a bed, it's probably going to be super dusty, and hair and dust clogs the vents so the fan can't breathe. The fan can't actually push the air, the hot air, out of the computer, so that in turn heats it up. Not good for anything. So if you notice the fan is kicked on all the time, like this P15, this is a very high performance computer. This fan is normal to kick on when it's under load. That's what it's designed to do. There's two fans because it's a beast of a laptop. I don't hear the fan at all. And I'm running video in 4K, which means it's stressing the CPU and the GPU, and I don't hear the fan whatsoever. But you can't go off just audible noise. You can actually use programs, which is what I recommend doing, and the programs I have here to test that are HW Info. Now this program tells you the average temperatures, the temperature that it's at currently, and the minimum temperature. Right now we're idling at 57 with this video playing in the background, and we've reached a maximum temp of 92, which is completely normal because when that 4K is kicking in, the CPU is kind of straining itself. And again, I don't hear the fans. I don't hear the fans at all. What laptop you have determines how loud the fans are going to be and how hot that CPU generally runs. Some CPUs run hotter than other CPUs. It's completely normal, just like some cars need a bigger radiator than other cars. Now what happens if the laptop is running hot and you notice those temperatures are really high and the fan's running crazy all the time? Well, you have a few options. You can risk it and you can try to replace the thermal paste. On a lot of business class laptops, it's super straightforward and super easy to do that. There are a bunch of tutorials on how to do that. I have quite a few on my channel, but this also means getting your hands dirty. And if you're not comfortable with working on your own laptop, then you have a few other options. You can either take it to a computer repair shop and have them do it. Generally the cost is about $100, $150. Could be cheaper, 60 bucks maybe. It depends all on where you live and what the general cost of labor is where you live, which is directly tied to the cost of living. So that's another option. Or you could just pack up that laptop and return it, because remember, you got a good return policy, right? 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 On workstation laptops like what this is, the P15, it's a little more intense to replace the thermal paste, and when I say a little more, it's a big pain in the keister. So it might not be something you're willing to do. And when it comes to hardware, you also want to see what the life expectancy of the hard drive is and how much it's been written and read to. Now there's something called TBW, terabytes written. Every NVMe or SSD has a certain amount of writes and reads that they can handle before they start to shit the bed. Now this computer has a 970 Evo Plus, and I know this because I installed it, of course, because only the best here at SalemTechSource.com. To find the health of the drive, I just download Crystal Disk Info, and it'll tell you right there, total host reads, total host writes. You don't need to be a tech guy. You see that number? It says GB. Already I know this thing is basically brand new. It tells you the power on count, how many hours it's been powered on, and well, how do I know how much the 970 Evo Plus can handle? Well, I just go onto Samsung's website. I look for the 970 Evo Plus, and I look right down here, TBW, 600 TBW for 1 terabyte model, or 5 years, whichever comes first. That means this thing is basically brand new, so I'd feel safe if I bought this computer knowing that the hard drive has barely been used. And if you do find one where the hard drive has been used and is very close to its lifespan, then you may want to consider replacing it yourself or just sending it back to the seller because you got a good return policy, right? Right? Now enough about hardware talk, let's talk software. And let's talk security. A big concern is you buy a used laptop, how do you know that there's not something malicious on there, a Bitcoin miner or something that's going to steal your wife's phone number and give it to somebody that perhaps wears a blonde wig and visits other wives at night? Well, there's a few ways to do that. The easiest way is to open up Defender and you can scan the computer right here. Run a quick scan, you can also do a full in-depth scan, and a lot of people overlook this. Go to Manage Settings and make sure nothing is excluded, because I could put something malicious on here and just exclude that file or folder from being scanned. And the only way you would find it if you download another AV, another antivirus, and surprise, I've had access to your information and your wife's nudes for many months. You don't want that to happen. And if you want to be super safe, you can just reset the computer to the Windows default, fresh out of the box. However, that's also not 100% guaranteed to wipe anything that could be malicious, because somebody could, in theory, put a file onto that install image so that when Windows reinstalls itself, it also reinstalls the malicious program. Now this is super uncommon. I've never even seen this in my life except for one time when it was from a random Amazon company, but they were selling a brand new computer. There was a big thing about it. It didn't even come from a refurbished laptop. This is also why reputation matters. If you're buying something from somebody, from a company that has a good reputation, then the odds of this happening are minuscule, because what the heck? This company is going to risk their entire reputation on some small little piece of profit. Not likely. If you really want to give it the nuke, just download the Windows ISO, the Windows ISO from Microsoft.com, put it onto a USB, and do a fresh install on the computer. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Well, what laptop should you buy? What do I recommend you buying as a computer repair shop owner for 10 years? There are a few things. Now, first one, Framework laptop. Whether you can get it new or used, you should support Framework because those are the most repairable and upgradable laptops in existence. And I also like supporting that company because their vision and their goal is to help save the planet. But they can get a little pricey, especially compared to other alternatives, which are the ThinkPad T and P series. What exact model depends on your use case, just like I mentioned earlier, what screen size you need, how powerful you want it to be, and what your budget is. Next would be the Dell Latitude and Precision series. Within the past 4 years, I do feel that Dell has kind of lost their way when it comes to quality control with the Dell Latitude and the Precisions, so that's why those are third in line, but you can still find some good deals and they generally are easily repairable and fairly reliable compared to their consumer laptops. And lastly, the HP EliteBook, ProBook, and ZBook. Those laptops, a lot of those models now have fused keyboards, and that's not good. A lot of them also have fused displays where there's a glass touchscreen display. That's also not good when it comes to repair, and that's why they rank last, in my opinion, on what used laptop you should buy. And if you're an Apple person and you want something that runs Mac OS, you can't go wrong with getting a used M1 MacBook Air or Pro and above. Anything from the M1 and later is an excellent buy. Again, that's if you're a Mac person. Just know you cannot upgrade the storage, you cannot upgrade the RAM. What you buy is what you get. But if you're just using it for something simple, and for school or something like that, then that's it. You also can't repair things easily and the parts cost a lot of money, and if you break that display, God help you, because it's going to be expensive. But you like Mac OS, so that's what you're gonna buy. The CPU is good, it's efficient, the battery is pretty easy to replace, fairly easy to replace. And of course you have the advantage of having the Apple ecosystem, which is arguably much better than Microsoft's or Android.
As for buying a refurbished gaming laptop, I absolutely do not recommend doing this unless you're buying open box from the manufacturer, or you're able to service the thermals yourself and want to gamble hundreds of dollars on something that will probably still burn out in a year. I say this because my entire career has been built off of repairing gaming laptops, some of which looked perfectly fine on the outside but were a ticking time bomb inside. They're unreliable and unpredictable. But if you still insist and want to gamble with a refurbished gaming laptop, then check out this video from the greatest gaming laptop recommender that's ever lived, Jared's Tech.
So if you're thinking about getting a computer for somebody or for yourself for the Christmas, the holiday season, then consider getting a refurbished one. Not only will you be helping out a small business, hopefully, you'll also be saving something from the landfill, and you'll be saving yourself money in the long run. And you'll be buying something that's reliable. So it's a good gift to give to somebody and for yourself.
And with that said, thank you so much for watching. Please consider becoming a member if you want to help support the channel and watch me swear profusely as I live stream video games. A special shout out to the greatest supporters that ever lived. It's with your contributions that I can take the time to actually make these videos. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll catch you in the next one. What if I don't, bitch? Yeah, what? Yeah, that's what I fucking thought.